Being a caregiver or a care partner for a person living with dementia can be hard, but it can also be really rewarding. Each day is an opportunity to learn more, and whether you are new to this role or you've been at it for a while, these 10 tips can help reduce your stress and help you to avoid burning out. So welcome to This is Getting Old, Moving Towards an Age-Friendly World. I'm your host, Dr. Melissa Batchelor, and I've been a nurse and a nurse practitioner for over 25 years, helping care for older adults and their families. So before we dive into today's topic, I just want to share a few of the different ways you can connect with me. First of all, you can visit my website at melissabphd.com, and there you can sign up to be an AgeWiseU Insider for free. And if you've ever looked for a downloadable handout that I've mentioned in a previous episode, you can now find them all in one place as an AgeWiseU Insider. While you're there, you may also want to look into joining as an MVP. Being an MVP gives you a different digital experience where I've organized and sub-organized all of the videos, resources, and we'll be creating courses. And so one place where you can find all the information that you're looking for. And I'm also going to be hosting a monthly live webinar for MVPs where you can submit questions ahead of time, and then you can get answers from me personally. You can also become a podcast member on YouTube, and this membership allows you early access to the podcast episodes before they're released to the public, and I have more plans for this membership as well. And don't forget, you can subscribe to this podcast on whatever platform that you're on, and if you like it, be sure that you give a thumbs up, leave a 5-star rating, and share it with someone else that it might be beneficial for. So now let's go ahead and dive into this week's episode where I'm talking about 10 tips for caregivers of people living with dementia. So tip number 1 is ignoring symptoms will not make them go away. So it's not uncommon for us to ignore early stages or symptoms of dementia, hoping that the symptoms will just go away, or maybe you're trying to convince yourself or other people that it's really not a problem, and maybe you're just overreacting. But this type of denial really just leads to delays in diagnosis of treatment. I can't tell you the number of times I've heard people say it took, at least 2 years to get to a diagnosis. And that's just because this is a diagnosis of exclusion, which means we have to rule everything else out first. There's already going to be a lot of different tests and things that will need to be done. So the sooner you get started, the sooner you can find out what's going on. And a lot of the interventions and things that we recommend for people, they're more effective when they're started earlier. So number 2, it's never too late to start working on improving your brain health. And a lot of people say, well, I'm too old to make changes. What good is it going to do? I've already been diagnosed. But, it's never too late to do something about your brain health and ultimately your overall physical health, because it can make a difference in the way you're functioning, and how long you're going to be able to take care of yourself, as well as improving your cognitive function and how you're thinking. While there's no way to cure dementia, a healthy lifestyle that includes eating well, exercising, doing things to regularly engage mentally and socially, they can go a long way towards your physical and your brain health. So these behaviors actually have even shown to slow down some of those symptoms. So it's never too late, just like it's never too late to quit smoking. Number 3, have your medications reviewed regularly. I know I've talked about this on several episodes, but taking too many prescription medications or over-the-counter medications, looking at all the vitamins and supplements that you're taking. Sometimes if you're taking too much of these things, you can actually do more harm than good, and actually cause yourself or someone that you love to be disoriented, and they can actually cause trouble with memory. So a lot of people also see multiple providers who a lot of times don't talk to themselves, and they're ordering drugs and they're not even aware of what the other person is ordering. So that those things can add up and cause some serious problems, including going to the emergency room or being hospitalized. So when you're taking your loved one to the doctor, be sure that you put all of the prescription medications, supplements, over-the-counter medications, everything. If you just put it into a brown bag or whatever color bag you have on hand, it's important that your providers are reviewing all the medications that you're taking, and you can even take those to a pharmacist to see if there are any side effects or drug-drug interactions that might be happening. Number 4, arguing is a waste of time. Well, it's going to be easy to be frustrated with someone who has dementia and end up arguing with them or trying to convince, them that they're wrong and you're the one that's right. But resistance is usually met with resistance. So arguing is not going to change their mind. You are the one that has the healthy brain, and you need to realize that you are trying to have a logical conversation with someone who is illogical, because by definition, dementia impacts the person's ability to reason and to be logical. So save yourself the trouble. Number 5, use validation techniques to show empathy. People with dementia often experience a very different reality than we do. And so instead of us being irritated and reminding them of that they've repeated themselves 25 times or that they're wrong about whatever it is that they're saying, it's more effective to ask them more questions about what they're talking about. So if they are talking about seeing somebody out, children running around the barn, instead of trying to correct them, you probably would do better to find out what type of visual hallucination they're having. So you're asking more questions about the children. Do you know the children? Do the children seem scared? And then if it's just the person repeating themselves, to really address the underlying emotions. So is that person anxious? And so saying to them, it seems to me like you're anxious. So rather than just saying to them, like, what you're saying isn't right, it's going to be a lot more successful to validate what they're talking about. So that when you're validating their emotions, that's what's called validation therapy. And so it's distraction is another great thing, but try to put yourself in their shoes rather than trying to move them to where you are and see it from your perspective. Number 6, don't take their negative behaviors personally. And I know this one can be really hard because you may feel like your loved one is just choosing to be difficult, or you think they have selective memory problems or selective hearing. That could be with someone that doesn't have dementia. Or maybe you think that they just forget things when it's convenient for them. But what you have to remember is that person is doing the best that they can do. So a person with dementia is always doing the best that they can do, and it's up to us to adjust to whatever that person's personality and behavior is showing at the time. They're not being stubborn or manipulative. And so when you keep this in mind, sometimes that's helpful when you're having a day that's not going so well. Number 7, focus on the things that you can control. And by this, I mean really being thoughtful about picking and choosing your battles. As a care partner, you may have an agenda of all these things that you want to get done, and you feel like if that person, if it's met with resistance, that you just have to, you have to force the issue. But again, that resistance is going to be met with resistance, and so you have to decide how important it is to get this one thing done today, because at the end of the day, the relationship is really what's going to matter. So maybe taking a shower every day isn't as important, but you do want to make sure that they get one at least once a week. So you may have to pick a different day or do the shower on a day where maybe you hadn't planned to do it, but the person seems more like they're willing to do it that day. If you focus on what's important in the moment, is this going to matter a month from now? You'll rarely go wrong if you ask yourself if the challenge you're having at the moment, if it's going to be worth it or not. Number 8, asking other people for help. So caring for a person living with dementia can be challenging, and you don't have to do it alone. And remembering that getting help is not a luxury, it's actually a necessity. So you need to learn how to build a care team and ask other people for help. And then you have to learn how to accept help from other people. And so these are critical skills that you will have to learn as a care partner. There's home health services, there's adult daycare, there are facilities, there's respite care, and other organizations that can help you find the support that you need. You can get into a care partner group that can support you, because that way you're sharing the struggles and the things that you're going through, but you're also listening to other people who might just be a little bit further down the road in their caregiving situation. But if you feel like you don't really have anywhere to turn for help, you can always contact the Alzheimer's Association. They have a 24-hour helpline at 1-800-272-3900, and they are very knowledgeable about all the different resources that can provide help, and they can give you direction and practical resources for your specific situation in your community. Which leads us to number 9, make time for yourself. So caregiver stress and burnout are real things, and you do need to try to take time for yourself, because if you aren't taking care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else. That was one of the first things they taught us in nursing school. So it is important, even if you can find just a little bit of time in each day to do something for yourself, That's going to be beneficial. And so some practical ways that you can do that include, taking a break, going to visit a friend for 20 to 30 minutes, reading a book or listening to your favorite music, enjoying, a cup of your favorite coffee or tea, taking 5 minutes to stretch or call a family member, and then even taking 10 seconds to take a deep breath and just letting it out slowly. Sometimes you need to stack those things. And then other days you might even be able to arrange for a whole weekend off. And lastly, number 10 is to have conversations about medical decisions and choices early and often. So I know it's hard for a lot of people to think about the future, but when you're caring for a person with dementia, it becomes increasingly important. And when you start conversations, when you start these conversations early, it gives everyone time to absorb and process the information rather than avoiding it. So when you avoid an uncomfortable conversation, it's not going to change the medical decisions that are going to need to be made. So you need to have conversations about different scenarios, about what would you want done in this situation? Who do you want your power of attorney to be? And it's not only important for you to have those conversations with that person, but to make sure that family members and other loved ones who may be involved in care later are involved in those conversations. Because really, the more information you have as a care partner, that's just going to give you more information about how to make an informed decision down the road, because it's impossible to guess all the different things that can happen. Just like each of us are born in this world with a different story, the way we die is also a different story, and nobody knows what they're going to get. So it's important to at least know what are some of the most important things to you. Some different resources for this include looking up the 5 wishes, kind of writing down the basics of what's important. Would you rather be comfortable or alert? You know, those types of guidelines can give you peace of mind as a caregiver down the road, knowing that you're at least able to say to the healthcare providers what is most important to this person with dementia. So thank you for listening today. Don't forget that you can go to my website, melissabphd.com. You can sign up to be an AgeWiseU Insider for free. There you can find all the downloads that I've mentioned before in one place. You can also think about becoming an MVP and joining me once a month for a monthly live webinar and finding all of the related podcast topics clustered together. So I have a whole section on like early, middle, and late Alzheimer's, as well as brain health and healthy aging. You can also become a podcast member on YouTube. Membership allows you early access to content before it's released to the public. And there'll be other tiers of that membership built out over the next couple of months. And don't forget to please subscribe to the podcast. Please like it, share it, leave a comment for anyone that you think it might be beneficial for. So thank you, and I will see you next time.